at Donna's parents' house at 339 Highland Drive, which is approximately 2 blocks south of here. Almost immediately after arriving there, Amber and Ricky began riding their bicycles around the neighborhood, ultimately riding up Highland, down Ruth Street, and arriving here at this parking lot, the 1600 block of East Abram. At some point, Ricky returned, and Amber stayed here and continued riding her bicycle. Sometime around between 3:05 and 3:15 p.m., the eyewitness, who was still in his backyard, observed what he described as a young girl, long brown hair, riding her bicycle on this loading dock. He advised she appeared carefree and having fun. Short time later, he observed a black truck that he believed to be the same black truck that had previously been sitting here in the parking lot, driving west through the parking lot and stopping here at the north end of this loading dock. He advised the driver of that truck, who is the suspect in this case, exited the driver's door, and as Amber was riding her bicycle south, coming this direction, the suspect ran up behind her, grabbed her under her arms, and lifted her off of the bicycle, causing the bicycle to fall and continue lying on the ground. He described the suspect carrying Amber in that same position as she kicked and screamed to his truck and putting her inside the driver's side door and shutting the door. He then described that the driver drove north through this parking lot, hesitated momentarily before turning west on Abram Street and driving towards the center of Arlington, away from the nearby highways. The eyewitness immediately returned inside his residence and contacted 911. The 911 call was received by Arlington Dispatch at 3:18 p.m. on the 13th of January. Officers were immediately dispatched to the location. Upon their arrival, they discovered the bicycle still laying here in this parking lot and began to interview the eyewitness. A short time after that, a gentleman showed up, identified himself as being Amber's grandfather, and identified the bicycle as being that belonging to his granddaughter, Amber Hagerman. At that moment, the kidnapping investigation began on January 13th, 1996. Personnel with the Arlington Police Department and various local, state, and federal agencies worked around the clock in an attempt to find Amber Hagerman. Unfortunately, on the night of January the 17th, 1996, at approximately 11:41 p.m., Arlington Dispatch received a call from a resident at the Forest Ridge Apartments, address 2908 Forest Hollow Lane. We have some descriptions here showing where these locations are throughout Arlington. The resident of Forest Ridge Apartments advised he was walking his dog in the northwest corner of the complex along a creek that runs on the west side of the apartments, and stated he had observed what he believed to be a body. Arlington police were dispatched and were able to identify the body as Amber Hagerman. This was on January the 17th, 1996, and at that point, the murder investigation began into this case. I would like to provide accurate suspect and suspect vehicle descriptions for this case. This is based off eyewitness testimony of the kidnapping that occurred here. The suspect is believed to be a white or Hispanic male in his 20s to 30s, was under 6 feet in height, medium build, and had brown or black hair. The vehicle description was a 1980s or 90s black pickup truck described as a short wheelbase, fleet size pickup truck, and was a single cab vehicle. It was black in color, and the witness described there was no chrome, striping, or visible damage to the vehicle that he saw. Stated it was in good condition. He finally described the rear of the vehicle, the rear window, as being clear and not having a sliding glass. This is the accurate suspect description and vehicle description in this case. I'll now turn it over to Sergeant Ben Lopez to describe some of the investigation that has taken place over the last 25 years.
Hello, good morning. I'm Sergeant Ben Lopez with Arlington Police Department. I was a rookie patrol officer back in 1996 when Amber was abducted. I was actually working that day, and as all the officers that were working that day, when we heard the call go out, we all responded to the area of the abduction, which we are here next to today. I responded to the area and began looking for the suspect vehicle, began looking for Amber, and began, of course, looking for the suspect. Unfortunately, as we all know, her body was found a few days later. So what was a kidnapping investigation then became a murder investigation. Because of the overwhelming number of leads that we were receiving at that time, the department formed a task force to investigate her murder. I was one of the original members of that task force. That task force ran from February of 1996 until June of 1997. We had 12 detectives and 1 sergeant assigned to the task force. Among the detectives that were assigned, we also had a Tarrant County Sheriff's Office deputy who assisted us full-time. We also had assistance from the FBI and the Texas Rangers throughout the years that we've been investigating this. The original task force investigated and cleared over 5,500 leads. One of the things that we looked at that time was, is it possible that there were other witnesses who saw what happened but were fearful about coming forward? With it being a Saturday afternoon that was nice and the laundromat being right next door to the abduction, we were concerned that there could be people that were there at the laundromat who may have been undocumented and living in this country illegally. And we spent a lot of time putting out flyers and talking to the community to assure them that if there is a witness or witnesses who have that concern, we are not interested at all in pursuing any kind of deportation or any interest in their undocumented status. We would just ask that anybody with information come forward. When Jim Ford was the original detective on this case, I worked with him when I became a homicide detective later in my career. When Jim retired in 2010, then I became the lead detective, and I had the case from then until 2018 when I promoted to sergeant. At that time, Detective Grant Gildon took over as the lead detective. During the years, throughout the years since this happened, we've routinely looked at the evidence that we've had, and we've looked at new technologies that have developed during that time. We've contacted major labs across the country to speak with them and consult with them to see if there's anything new technology-wise that could help us and assist us in identifying the suspect. And that continues to this day. This case is personal to me because I've been involved in some aspect since the day that Amber was abducted. Also, it's personal to me because during the years I've come to know Donna Williams, Amber's mother, and Ricky Hagerman, Amber's brother. So that makes it more personal to me as well. I would love to be able to give Donna and Ricky and the rest of the members of their family the answer to the question that they would like to know. And of course that is, who did this to Amber, and bring that person to justice. At this time, I'd like to introduce Donna Williams, and she'd like to say a few words. Thank you all for being here today.
Hi, I just wanted to let everyone know about my daughter, Amber. She was just 9 years old. She loved school. She loved riding her bicycle. She loved being a little mommy to her little brother, Ricky. I miss her every day, and she's just so full of life. And I want to know why. Why her? She was only a little girl. And to Amber's killer, I'm asking you today to please turn yourself in. Give Amber justice. Amber needs justice, deeply, deeply needs justice. And to anyone who has seen or heard anything about Amber's case, please come forward. Thank you.
Before I turn it over to questions, I also want to introduce Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Victoria Fryer Myers. Would you like to come up and just say a few words and stand up here with us? Then I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Chief. I'll be brief. Again, my name is Dr. Victoria Fryer Myers. I'm Mayor Pro Tem. I'm here to represent the City Council and the Mayor on this anniversary that we hope will never be celebrated again. And with your help, we hope that the urgings of what you've just heard will be taken to heart, and that we will, once and for all, find justice for Amber. Thank you for being here. Help us solve this case. Help us bring justice to Amber. Thank you.
Thank you for all coming. Yeah, we'll take some questions. Yes.
At the time of the murder, there was very little evidence found. I understand that there had been a big rainstorm, so a lot of the DNA was washed away. Can you specifically talk about what technology and what evidence you're going to take a look at? Because my understanding was there was very little evidence left.
And so the question, if you didn't hear, was more about the evidence. Well, I will tell you that the condition that we found Amber, it was difficult to collect some evidence, and it made it very difficult for us a case. I will tell you that we do have some evidence, and I really don't want to disclose all the evidence at this time. The reason is that we want to make sure that the killer knows what happened, and he knows that if we have that evidence, we can specifically ask him, and it can identify him and corroborate his story. Technology from DNA has progressed since the 80s and the 90s. And we're very excited because we continually try to be aggressive and trying to meet new technology head on with this case. And we're excited because this year there is new technology when it comes to DNA, and we're excited about this year being able to submit that and hope that we can get a better DNA profile on the killer.
Chief, I know that you gave a description of the vehicle, a black pickup truck, and it sounds like you don't have the make and model. Do investigators at least know, is this a full-size pickup? Is this a compact pickup? Is this an American make? Is this a Ford make? Do you have any of that information?
I'll let Case Agent. Sergeant?
Yes, and the question was, do we have any further information on the make and model of the pickup truck? Unfortunately, we don't know for sure. Initially, the witness to this described it as a full-size Ford pickup, but we certainly would not discount other American-made pickups. Now, he was specific that it was not a smaller truck like the old Ford Rangers or the S10 pickups. He was specific that it was a full-size single cab, and he thought it was a Ford, but he was not 100% sure on that part. And again, he was specific that it was a single cab, not extended cab, not a crew cab. It appeared stock. It was not did not appear to be a four-wheel drive, and it did not appear to have any modifications to it. No, sir.
Yeah, I'm wondering, you said, that there was a task force formed after this happened and that the investigation is still ongoing. Can you speak to kind of how active this investigation is currently and what kind of resources have been dedicated to this, for the past few years?
Well, this case, we never close a case that we don't resolve. So it is always active. And the reason that we're coming here today is that we're looking to reinvigorate somebody's mind, somebody's recollection of what happened 25 years ago. we've immediately after we had over 5,000 leads. I think throughout the investigation, we've been investigating more than 7,000 leads. It's time on this anniversary that we reinvigorate, bring this story to the forefront, that we try to bring somebody who saw something that may have been cautious or afraid 25 years ago. We need those small leads. We need that information, so we're pleading with the public. Please come forward. Help us solve this case. Help us bring justice for Amber and the family. Yes, sir.
Chief, you mentioned that you're excited to submit the evidence this year. Is there something you have to do before submitting it? Has it already been submitted? Where are you in that process?
Where are we on the process of resubmitting? The technology is being refined and will be finalized early this year. We have not submitted the evidence yet. We have previously submitted our DNA evidence several times to the FBI laboratory. Because the technology is new and it's advanced, we are excited that this year, and hopefully by February, that we will submit this new evidence to see if we can get an enhanced DNA profile. Yes?
The Amber Alert has been instrumental in saving many children over the years. Can you or maybe Donna talk about Amber's legacy of leaving that at least behind for that other children have been saved because of the alert?
Yeah, I'll start off. Amber Alert has just become a household name. We get it over our iPhones today. It's just a legacy that has really helped many thousands of children be recovered. It's a way that we notify immediately that we have a missing child. And it just speaks for the results that children have been saved because of Amber Alert. So I will turn it over to
Yes,
Donna if
Donna.
you want to talk about what it means to you.
The Amber Alert, I'm very, very proud of it because it is help saving our children's lives. It's helped bringing our children back to mommy and daddy. And so it's another legacy from my daughter, that she didn't die in vain, that she is still taking care of our little children as she did when she was here. And I am very, very proud of my daughter and for all she has done for our children here.
I was just wondering if anybody can speak to this, what it would mean, to find the person responsible for this, what kind of closure that might bring, I guess, if anybody wants to answer that question, Donna or...
Yeah, and I'll let Donna say. I think in the history, when you have someone who's committed a heinous crime like this, whether it's a serial killer or it's an individual incident that happened, time goes by, 25 years later, the killer knows who it is, he knows who he is, he has some guilt, some remorse, hopefully, and that as he's gaining in age, we are pleading with him to come forward. It's time. It's time that we bring closure to this case and we resolve this case. So I'll let Donna, do you want to?
Yes, me and Amber's family, we are desperately wanting closure. It would not make my heart feel any better, because my heart breaks every day for her, because I do miss her a lot. And I do want justice for Amber, and we do want closure for her. We want justice.
Question. It seems like the suspect description hasn't really changed all that much over the years. How certain are y'all, and are y'all going based off of that one eyewitness, or are there more eyewitnesses that have come forward? My fear obviously is that we're looking for the wrong person.
Right, and we are, to answer one of the questions first off, we had one witness. All this time, we've only had one witness come forward to tell us what happened and what he saw. So again, that's why we're pleading that if there's anybody out there that has information, even if they think it's just a small bit of information, it may be the lead that we need to break this. So we're going off the information provided by that one witness back in 1996.
I think you said you
5,500 leads or for 7,000 on a yearly basis. How many tips keep coming in on this case, and how does that compare to maybe some of the other unsolved cases you guys have?
Yes, the figure we gave of 5,500, that's the number of leads the Amber Hagerman Task Force investigated between February of 96 and June of 97. Current to date, we've investigated over 7,000 by the homicide unit. This case, we continue to get leads, and when I say leads, we get tips, whether that be directly to our department or through the Tarrant County Crime Stoppers. We get tips every month. In now over 2 years, almost 3 years that I've had the case, there has not been a single month that we have not gotten some kind of tip come in. Also, in addition to following up on each of those tips, I conduct a yearly audit of all evidence to continue to analyze what we have, how it can be used, and on a yearly basis, I talk with all the major laboratories around the country to see if there's any new technologies or anything that we could possibly be trying with the evidence that we have. And that is what's led to some new developments where we can try some things this year as we continue to look for new ways to investigate this case.
And then just one quick follow-up. When you say submitting DNA, you're talking about submitting to the FBI, or are we talking about those genealogy sites, similar to the Golden State?
So just like Chief said, we're not willing to say exactly what it is we are submitting, but we're submitting evidence that we've maintained for 25 years that we believe could possibly provide us with results that could be a DNA profile. That's what we're working on, is trying to enhance that. It's evidence we've maintained all this time.
Can you say if little Amber, was she sexually assaulted?
So there's lots of details regarding this case that we're not going to talk about. That's one of them. We want to maintain the integrity of the case and the integrity of any interviews or new developments that could come up in the future. So, yes, ma'am.
More than 2 decades, you obviously have had a lot of investigators working on the case, mothers, fathers who have come to learn about the case as they work in the department. Can you describe the level of motivation and how does it bring you to this point to keep each and every investigator and how they're investigating this case and solving it?
I was lucky enough to get to know the first lead investigator, Jim Ford, on this case. And what you learned as a young police officer when you came to Arlington Police Department is just how motivated and dedicated Jim Ford was to this case. Him, along with all of the detectives and all of the officers that worked this case, many of them that responded on January 13th of 1996, still work for the Arlington Police Department. And there is a legacy within our department where we're extremely motivated and dedicated to solve this case. First and foremost, we want justice for Amber. We want to be able to provide Donna with the answers to her questions. But there is also within the Arlington Police Department a desire to continue the legacy of those that were so dedicated for so many years to continue to work this case. And that's why it's one that has continued to be worked on a daily basis for the last 25 years.
Did you say y'all had new pictures? Can you kind of, 'cause I don't know what those pictures are over there.
Yes.
Kind of tell us what that is.
Down on the end is the picture, obviously, of the bicycle that Amber was riding at the time of the abduction. The next picture, this is the creek. These are original crime scene pictures from the creek and the culvert where her body was recovered. The next one is a diagram. The area looks very much the same today, 25 years later. This is, it was the Forest Ridge Apartments in 1996. Today, it's the Hudson Apartments at 2908 Forest Hollow Lane. This is a diagram showing specific locations along the creek that were significant in this case. This is a map that we developed just to be able to show everyone. We know that there's media members here that were not here 25 years ago covering this case. So we wanted to make it clear just how close some of the significant addresses were. Amber's grandparents' house was a very short distance. The eyewitness to this case, you can see his backyard right here next to us. And of course, the abduction site is exactly where all of you are at right now. The body recovery site is only a few miles from here. It's in the northern part of Arlington. We believe this is significant. There's several things. This is an area that we believe anyone involved would have to be somewhat familiar with, would have to know the location. It's not an area that you would accidentally stumble upon. So we wanted to highlight that and show the location. Finally, Amber's mother, Donna, has provided us with a collage of pictures here today to show just how beautiful and innocent Amber was. We have another crime scene aerial shot of the body recovery location. This is the same area as you see over here, just a broader scope and showing where her body was recovered. Finally, you've got a picture of Amber. That is a picture that's been in the Arlington Police Department homicide unit for the last 25 years, and the original missing person poster that was distributed at the time of her abduction.
I imagine over the years you're obviously waiting for the technology, DNA technology, to kind of catch up. As we've seen some other cases, though, solved through DNA, can you speak as to why it's taken a while to get that profile ready, or what kind of challenges you run into?
Just like Chief said, the evidence in this case is limited. Over the years, one of the difficult things with a case as it goes on this long is there's many aspects of the case that aren't going to change. Who your eyewitness is, what evidence you have from the day of the offense, those things a lot of times don't change. We have continued to investigate this given the information we have. As we see other cases that also have been investigated for long periods of time, I would say it gives us hope. It continues to motivate us. I would like to very much applaud the detectives around the country that have solved those cases. And I want to make clear here today, we believe this case will get solved. We believe that there's no way the killer in this case could have committed the crime in the manner that they did without someone seeing, hearing, or having some knowledge of what happened. We believe someone out there still has information that can help us solve this case. And we want to make sure, as great as Amber's legacy is with the Amber Alert, and that's something that everyone involved is very proud of, we want to make it clear that we are still working and trying to solve this case as well and bring justice for Amber.
And I'm also just curious, with the vast amount of tips you've sorted through over the years, how often are they helpful or significant, or how often do they, maybe lead you in a wrong direction or just don't yield any result?
Obviously, with 7,000 tips over the years, some are more in depth and able to be followed up on more than others. Every single one that comes in gets thoroughly investigated. That goes through a process of trying to validate the information that comes through. There's been a large number of detectives over the years that have worked on this and working those tips. Members of the task force, members of the homicide unit, and members all over the country, other detectives around the country that have assisted. At this point, we have not found the person that we believe can be charged with this offense. So we still think that the tip that's going to lead us there is still coming.
The sex offender registry, I'm just assuming it wasn't around back then. Has that been very important for you guys to go through that list?
You want to answer that?
Yes, the sex offender registry was around back then, and that was one of the things that we immediately looked into on the original task force. We sent teams of detectives to go out and contact every registered sex offender to account for the whereabouts when she was abducted and back in 1996. So yes, it was around, and we did look into that extensively back then.
I want to say thank you for all of you being here today. Thank you for bringing this story to light again to the public. We really are praying hopes that someone will come forward today with additional leads to help us resolve this case, bring justice for Amber. Now, in closing, I want to also make sure that all of these up here are available for individual interviews. So again, thank you very much for coming here today. Thank you.